Good morning and welcome to 6.11 day 2. And actually I kind of goofed when I created the homework. I forgot to make homework for day 2, or there's only 2 days of homework for section 6.11, but I have 3 days of notes, and since we're on e-learning, I thought it would be too confusing to rename homework and rename notes and yada yada yada. So what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate out this page 24, questions 5, 6. I know some of you are jumping up for joy, right? And on page 25, we're going to eliminate out question 7. So there are no day 2 notes. We will jump to day 3, but we're going to call this our day 2. So then it matches the homework, which is 6.11 day 2. All right, now we have a problem when we look at this because we want to find this piece here. And what I want you to see when you look at this is that there are really 3 triangles in here. 2 of them are right triangles, but there are 3 triangles in there. So here's where they are. There's one right triangle right down here, this little bitty one. There's this triangle here. That is not a right triangle. So SOHCAHTOA will not work for that right triangle, or for that triangle, because it's not a right triangle. And then we have the big triangle here. The big triangle is a right triangle. So we want to find this length x here, which is a piece of that non-right triangle. And again, SOHCAHTOA will not work there. Now, what we can do to solve this problem is kind of break it up into pieces and sections and throw some extra variables in here. Let's call this whole side in the big right triangle, let's call that B. And let's call this side in the small right triangle, let's call that A. Then, using that small right triangle, we could figure out what A is. Using the big right triangle, we could figure out what B is. And then, to figure out what X is, we could take this whole piece B and subtract off that part A. All right, let's go ahead and work through this. So if we use that small right triangle, from the 13 degrees, there's opposite is A over the adjacent side 38. That's a tangent. So the tangent of 13 degrees is the opposite side A over the adjacent side 38. Let's solve for that. So multiply by 38, and A is 38 tangent 13. Now, I'm not going to pop that into my calculator because I really don't care what A by itself is, because I'm going to have to subtract that from B. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Now if we set up to find B, so now I got to use the big right triangle. And in the big right triangle, this angle down here is 48. And we have the opposite side B, the adjacent side 38. And that can set up for us the tangent of 48 is equal to opposite B over 38, which means B is 38 tangent 48. Now, to find our X, which is what we were looking for, and we talked about this a moment ago, X is equal to B minus A. So our X will be the B part, 38 tangent 48, minus the A part, 38 tangent 13, Now we type that big long string into your calculator. And here we go. This is, I gotta make sure I can see my work here. 38 tangent 48. Now here's where it's really important that you close the parentheses so that you end that tangent. 38 tangent 48 minus 38 tangent 13, and we end up with 33.430. X is 33.430. All right, now I do want to address here that if you rounded in the middle of the problem, okay, if you rounded in the middle of the problem, then let's find that 38 tangent 48, which is 42.203, and B was 38 tangent 48. Uh-oh. I think that was my B. That was my B, 38 tangent 48. I'm so sorry. That was B. A is, lost myself for a moment here. What was my A? Oh, A is 38 tangent 13. 38 tangent 13, that gives us 8.773. And when you subtract, bummer, I think it ends up being the same thing. 42.203 minus 8.773, 33.43. Oh, it does come out to be the same thing. Bummer. 33.430. However, if sometimes it doesn't come out to be the same thing, so please use this method, not this rounding off in the middle one. I thought I had an example where it would show you they were different, but I didn't. Sorry. Sometimes they come out to be different. They come out to be close, but not exactly the same thing. So be very careful. Oops. These are the same. Sometimes they are not. So never round in the middle of a problem. Okay? All right. Let's go over here and look at this one, number 7 up here. So kind of the same idea. I want to solve for this piece X. Now here we only have one triangle, one right triangle, and it's sitting right there up at the top. But we need to figure out this piece X and this piece over here, Y. Now, this piece down here, that is a rectangle. So if that's Y, then this piece over here is also Y. Now, let's go ahead up to the top and let's figure out what that X is with that right triangle. And let's see, for that right triangle from this 21, we have the opposite side X and the adjacent side 75. So I'll have tangent 21 equals X over 75. So X is 75 tangent 21. Now in this case, I will zap that into my calculator because I do want to know exactly what x is. So 75 tangent 21, and that is 28.7. Let's see, that 8 is going to make that 9 round up, so 790. All right. Now let's go and we can figure out what this y is, because if x is 28 point something or other, this whole thing is 150, so then y has to be this 150 minus whatever x is. And I'm just going to do this as 150 minus 75 tangent 21. I'm going to show you two ways to do that on your calculator. One, you can just type it right in as is, 150 minus 75 tangent 21. And there it is, 121.210. Now, the other option, if you didn't want to type that, let me clear things and get that 75 tangent 21 back. And right here at this point, rather than typing that 75 tangent 21 again, you could just do 150 minus, and then arrow back up and grab that answer, and then enter. And there it is. Same thing. Whichever way is easiest for you on your calculator. Again, please don't round off in the middle of the problem. Do not round off in the middle of the problem. All right. How about this one down here on the bottom? Number 8, we are going to solve for x and y. Now, let me see if I can find a couple of color pencils here quickly. I have my box of school supplies over here. Not kidding. I have a box of school supplies. But I think most of my pencils are not sharp. Ooh, here's a green one. That blue one's dead. Oh, here's an orange one. This will work. If you don't have colored pencils, that's okay. I like color because it makes, I don't know, life colorful. All right, so let's look at this as one building. And then let's look at this one as another building. Oh, I don't know, for fun. Let's call this one the Sears Tower. And let's call this one over here, let's just call it an apartment building. Oops. BLDG. Apartment building. I can't write that out because it'll look silly. But BLDG for building. All right, now we have to figure some things out here. Assuming these buildings are built perpendicular to the ground, then this would be a right angle. And we have this rectangle piece sitting down here. Let's see. Let's talk for a minute. Is this angle of elevation or angle of depression? So if you're standing on top of the Sears Tower and looking straight out horizontally, you would have to tip your head down to see this apartment building. So this is an angle of depression right here. And we need to find out what this piece X is and what this piece Y is over here. Well, again, here's the angle of depression. This would be an angle of elevation. So a person standing on top of their apartment building, looking horizontally at the Sears Tower, then having to raise their head up to see the top of the building, that's angle of elevation. Oh, we see alternate interior angles here. So this one down there is also 28. Angle of elevation and angle of depression are always equal to each other. Now we can look in this right triangle, and let's see, we could figure out what x is, because from that 28, here's the opposite side, here's the adjacent side, that's tangent, so we'll have tangent of 28 equals the opposite side, x, over the adjacent side, 35. So x is 35 tangent 28. And we do want to know what that is because I'm asking you for x. So let's type that one up in the calculator. Let's see, 35 tangent 28. Oops, I forgot my parentheses. In this case, it doesn't matter, though. X is 18.6098. That 8 is going to make that 9 round up to a 10. So 18.610. There's x. Now let's find y. Y is this piece here, but that's also that distance right over here. So if we know what x is, we can do 50, this whole thing, minus the x. Minus that 35 tangent 28. And let's go do that. 50, oops, not 51, 50 minus. Now, last time I told you could arrow up and grab this number. Oops, glare. Grab that answer. You can also just keep arrowing back up and get that, the actual piece, 35 tangent 28. You could just pull that down, whichever one makes you happiest. I did close the parentheses this time. Enter. And there we have y is 31.390. Okay? All right. And your question of the day that you can upload into the video homework for 5 points is, what are Mrs. Rachel's 3 kids' names? Mrs. Rachel has 3 children. She has a daughter named Sarah, a son named Brian, and another son named Simon. So Mrs. Rachel's kids' names are Sarah, Brian, and Simon. Got it? I'm going to say it again. This is the sentence you have to write. Mrs. Rachel's kids' names are Sarah, Brian, and Simon. Okay, you guys, have a good day.